Hi. Okay, let's get started. In this lecture, we are going to learn about syntax and look at these topics: executing Python code, indentation, variables, comments, errors, and common errors and mistakes to look out for. I'm assuming that you've used Maya before if you are taking this course, but let's have a quick look at the script editor and how to find it. And you can access this by either clicking in this little script editor icon down in the bottom right, and you see that'll pop up script editor and the output window. We can also access this by going to Windows, General Editors, and then Script Editor here where you'll see the icon again. And the other way is through panels, where we can either select the panel directly or we can go for a split view within saved layouts, which is probably what we should do today and what we'll do in quite a few of the courses, so we can see the output of the code as we run it. So this is fourth up from the bottom, and there we go. Brilliant. Okay. Now, the next thing that we have to do straight away, and you probably want to make sure you're doing whenever you work in Maya, is go to history and make sure that you have show stack trace and line numbers in errors both ticked on. These are going to be very important for you during each lecture and during your future within Maya to make sure that you get as much information as you can from the output of your commands. Okay, it'll tell you where errors are, what code they're in, what module they are. It'll give you all the information that you need to debug something that you make a mistake with. Trust me, you will make a mistake, like me. Always, you always make mistakes, but that's just life. Okay, so let's go section 1. Okay, executing Python code. Okay, we can enlarge the font if you just hold down Control or Command and then use the scroll wheel to zoom in. Pretty consistent there, I think, between Apple and Windows. Okay, so executing Python in Maya is very straightforward. We can see the output of the Python syntax by typing print, open brackets, open speech quotes, and then we'll type in hello world. So these speech quotations state that we are going to create a string. And in this string, we have got the words hello world with a little character exclamation mark. So by pressing Control and Enter, we can see that code. And again, I can zoom in by holding Control and scroll wheeling in. So let's see how we executed that. So highlighted the code, held down Control and pressed Enter. And you see that shows us the code that we've run and the output from that code. We can also do this by clicking the play execute button, which does the exact same thing. Or we can not select anything in the screen and we can just go Control and Enter. And you'll see it just takes all the code from within that screen, removes it, but runs it. So we've got all the code that has come up and we've got the executed code that is run and showing us the output. Okay, so there you go. You have output your first code in Maya and in Python. Congratulations. We can also output multiple items if we do double speech quotation marks. So we've now got 2 items, two strings. Okay, and we've got separated by a comma. And now if we highlight those, Control Enter, we get hello world. So pretty much the same output as it shows up above, but this is entering essentially 2 variables. Okay, next let's move on to Python indentation. And to clear the code from up here, we're going to clear the history essentially of this of the top window. So let's do that. So indentation refers to the spaces at the beginning of a line of code. In other programming languages, indentation is in code for readability only. The indentation in Python, though, is very important, but it also is there for useful for readability. Python uses indentation to indicate a block of code, essentially. So again, all of these concepts we will cover later, but if we do an if statement and go if 10 is less than 20, then print hello. Okay, if 10 is less than 20, then we get hello. So we see we've got a statement here that is saying, well, if true, essentially, this command will only ever pass if it's true. So if 10 is less than 20, well, then do this. Okay, that's what we're doing. So if condition, then do this. Okay, so we see the indentation here. Maya did that for us with the IDE straight away. So if we put it there and we press enter, it'll always just take us to the right level within this code. If you then want to jump back out, do something outside of the if statement, you just have to backspace to get back out. Okay, so we can go print and hello again. And we get now 2 prints because both have run. Okay, we've got 1 bit of code within our condition, within our if statement, and 1 outside of it. Okay, so that's indentation. Essentially, it is indicating a block of code. Everything inside of this if statement is conditional to the if statement passing. Everything outside of the if statement is there and is therefore not conditional of this if statement. It will run within this section of code. All right, to make an error, we just have to remove the indentation here. And now we're going to see our first error in Python. So let's, actually we'll just highlight this. We don't want to highlight too much. Ooh, okay, so what type of error did we get? Well, we got an indentation error. Surprise, surprise. Okay, we've also got a print, okay, with a little arrow under it saying, well, this is where our error is, which is incredibly useful. Okay, this indentation error with the arrow is incredibly helpful for us as the developer, and it will guide us massively through our journey. Okay, we all make errors, and, you know, that's just kind of a given as humans, but rarely in life are they spelt out for us in black and white. You know, that's the best thing about programming. Okay, anytime you make an error, you're going to be told where that error is and how to fix it. Well, 90% of the time. You know, there'll be times where you do logical errors where essentially you'll just write something, but you've made the mistake with the logic, not so much with the actual syntax itself. Okay. So to fix this, all we have to do is either remove this block of code because we aren't doing anything within the condition, or we can just press, put our cursor to the beginning and then tab, and then Maya will give us the default 4 spaces that we want. Okay, simple as that. So, and in the same block of code, anything that you want to run within this statement, you just essentially want to put this within this block or within this indentation. So anything in there will only run because of the indentation. Anything outside will not pay attention to it. Okay, we'll go into conditions a bit more in the future. But again, we can make another error by just not following our rules and then doing inconsistent indentation. So here we've got a print which is tabbed in. And so, well, we're going to get an indentation error. Yep, there we go. Line 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is where the error has become because it's saying, well, here it is. All right. So what's it saying? Print, hello, line 6. Brilliant. Okay, we just, again, press return. Okay, highlighted the white space before and after the print, and then we're going enter. So it'll take us to the correct indentation. Easy as that. So indentation errors, that's your first error that you've raised. Nice and simple. Okay. Brilliant. We will go into more details though in the future on these. This is just a quick introduction to Python. So we're and Python syntax. So Python variables. Okay, we're going to talk about these in the next lecture. But okay, let me quickly just write this out for you so you can have something to look at. All right, so we've got A and we've got B here. So a variable is a symbolic name that is a reference or a pointer to an object. Once an object is assigned to a variable, you can refer to the object by that name. But the data itself is still contained within that object. So let's highlight and press Control and Enter to execute the code. So now if we just highlight A and press Control Enter, we get the result of A. This result is this, that this equals 1, 2, 3. That is what A is equaling. If we do the same with B, we've highlighted and executed B, and then we've got the result hello. So hello is equal to a string, and A is equal to 1, 2, 3. So to assign these variables, you simply highlight them and execute. But we will, there's so much to talk about with variables, but we'll go into more detail in the next session. I'll try and hold myself back because these are amazing, fascinating little things. Okay, so comments. What are comments? Well, this itself is a comment. Anything after a hashtag is essentially a comment. A comment is a useful little indicator of where a function is indicating what functionality is doing. It's code documentation, essentially, started with a hashtag. So if we go back to our hello world kind of information that we had before, or print statement that we had, we can say, well, okay, actually, I want to say I am a little comment. Simple, okay? And now everything that is behind or in the line in front of this hashtag will be commented out. It won't be run by the by Python. It'll essentially be prevented from running and executed by Python. So we can highlight all. We can go enter, and you'll see we will get all the code printed out that we have entered, but the only code that will run is here. If we press enter after that, we are now going to get a syntax error. Okay, we've got an error because this is not commented out. Python doesn't know what to do with this. Okay, it's not commented. It's just words that aren't assigned to anything, and even then there's a space there, which is wrong. So if we want a multi-line comment, all we have to do is just put another hashtag there. Simple as that. So press Control and Enter again, and hello world. You see, this will just help someone out. Let's imagine you've got a very complex piece of linear algebra here. Okay, and it's the variable names are quite short because you are saving time. You can instead of maybe making that piece of code a bit more obvious, maybe write an incredibly well explaining piece of information above it in a comment. Okay, that would be fine, as long as you make it obvious what is happening in that code. Okay, you will always want to do this because you do not want to leave your code uncommented. Okay, it'll make it very hard for people with what they're working with. Okay, so that's comments. Another way of commenting is using the triple quotation marks. So this is another multi-line comment. Okay, where we're just essentially putting triple quotation marks. Now, anything after triple quotation marks, whether they're single or double quotations, will be seen as a comment within Python. Okay, it's not going to run. It's not going to be useful. It's useful, sorry, to the program. It will be only useful and used as a comment. Okay. Right, so there you go. That's comments. I suggest using these and quite often, you know, to explain if something is complex, or even just to explain to yourself in the future. This will help make your life easier when you come back to something in 5-6 years' time. Trust me, I have read functionality that I have written 7 or 8 years ago that I now bang my head against the wall because I'm like, what was I writing? What is this? Because obviously my understanding was not as good as it is now. And that is where hopefully I'll be able to explain to you a lot of these concepts and start you off on the right track. You know, I had some good teachers when I was starting out, but very much it was focused within Maya. It wasn't about Python best principles, which I think should have really been it. It would have helped a lot. Okay, so let's move on. Let's clear our code at the top as well, our output. All right, let's talk about some errors. So in Python, there are mainly 2 types of errors. There are syntax errors and there are runtime errors. So what are these? Well, syntax errors mainly occur when the code violates the rules of Python and of the Python language itself. Okay, this means the interpreter cannot understand the code because it is not properly structured. Okay, code examples of syntax errors include missing colons, parentheses, brackets, incorrect indentation, and misspelled words. So if we went, like we did a little if statement before, if we went 10, if 10 is lower than 20, then print hello. All right, now you might have already seen what's about to go wrong here, but if we run this, we're going to get a syntax error. And that is because we haven't put the colon at the end. Okay, just this is not working with Python's rules, essentially. So as long as we put that back in, then it'll be fine, it'll run. But what you'll see is you get a really useful error, again, a syntax error, which is telling you you've done something wrong and you have typed or made a typing error or some type of error that we just talked about with colons, parentheses, brackets, or indentation. But what's even more useful, because we've got our history and our show stack trace, show and line numbers in errors, you are getting told exactly where the error is. So after 20, all you got to do is put that colon back in. Nice and simple. I can't tell you the amount of times that when I was starting out, I used to make little errors like this because I'd be typing things too quickly and then would forget something like that. Even one of them, I do remember banging my head against the wall for 20 minutes, was when I had the text too small because I was looking at too much, and I did a semicolon. Couldn't see it, obviously, but I was getting an error pointing at it, and I was even going, but wait, this is obviously, it's correct. It's got a colon. It's right there. And it literally took me to ask another programmer for me to bang my head against a wall and go, okay, I pressed the shift key too. Great. So yeah, you will make silly errors. We all make stupid errors, but it's just about sometimes making sure that you make everything readable enough for yourself and for someone else to actually be able to look and go, okay, this is what you've done. Because, we're human. That's what we do. We make errors. Okay, second type of errors, runtime errors. Oh, actually, sorry, I could go a bit more into syntax errors. So syntax errors, let's not close the brackets. Let's do this. Let's do another error. Okay, unexpected EOF while parsing. So another syntax error. So end of function, I believe that stands for unexpected EOF. So unexpected end of function while parsing. We haven't closed the parentheses. Okay, we've got a print. We've got a print function, but it's not being told or it's not being stopped. Okay, so Python's just going to go, nope, you've made a mistake. I'm not going to run this. Okay, simple. All we've got to do is go back in, add the parenthesis, and done. Simple. Okay, nice and easy. Okay, there's no problems with here. The runtime errors are, these occur when the code is syntactically correct, but the interpreter encounters an error while executing it. Okay, runtime errors are also known as exceptions, and they usually happen when the code tries to perform an impossible operation. For example, dividing by 0. So if you're a mathematician, or you did maths, or if you still remember your GCSE maths, you can't divide by 0. Okay, you can divide by 10, but 0 doesn't divide. There is nothing in 0, so we can do it one way. The second we try and divide 10 by 0, nope. Okay, 0 division error. You can't do it. It isn't possible mathematically, so it will just give you an error. Okay, and this will happen, if you're getting a list, if you're creating a spine or something and the user is inputting the length of the spine, if they input at 0, you'll want to be able to catch these kind of errors. Okay, so dividing by 0, you can access maybe an undefined variable. So if we print A, fine, 1, 2, 3, we've assigned that already earlier. If we print foo, no error, no, foo is not defined. Foo is not known by Python at the minute, so we're trying to print something that doesn't have a clue about. Okay, if we printed the string foo, then that is a string. So, we're telling it what it is. We're trying to assign, but we haven't assigned a variable foo to anything, so that will give you an error. All right, okay, so runtime errors can also occur with due to memory issues, network failures, or unexpected events. So if you create a loop with no end, it will not stop, it will keep on going. And this will eventually maybe create an error, but this probably won't fail for quite a while. Okay, so common errors. Like we've said, okay, forgetting out parts of the syntax, they're quite important. Okay, it doesn't matter now that foo's there because you're going to get a syntax error first. Put that back in. Oh, now I get a name error. Okay, I need to actually assign foo to something. So over here, I can just say foo equals 1, 2, 3, whatever I want it to equal, essentially. Okay, these are basically the common errors that you will come across. But like I said, make sure your line numbers are on, your show stack traces on. Okay, every time you work in Maya, and you will be fine when you're executing this. Okay, well. So this is your first basic kind of explanation of all the of little bits of Python, and we're going to start going a little bit deeper now into variables and what these are in the next video. But in this video, we have learned about executing Python code, Python indentation, Python variables, comments, errors and error handling, and common errors. So thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on our next video.